Hello and welcome. Let us talk about Britain, land of warm beer, cold shoulders and politicians so beige they make Magnolia look like a rave. However, into this beige buffet strolls Nigel Farage, pint in one hand, populist, pitchfork in the other, declaring, "The people want politicians who believe in something." Well, Nigel, they certainly believe you believe in something. What that something is, we will leave to their imagination. However, compared to Keir Starmer, who is about as ideologically committed as a damp tea towel, Farage looks like a revolutionary. Let us start with numbers, shall we? According to one of the latest polls, 64% of voters say they know what Farage stands for. That is nearly double the number who say the same about Starmer, 37%, or Kemi Badenoch, 35%. Which begs the question, what exactly does Starmer stand for? Other than standing awkwardly in his high-vis jackets and mumbling about missions, as if he is auditioning for a rejected Marvel spin-off. Labour, bless them, just marking their first year in power. Moreover, how did they celebrate? With a U-turn so sharp it gave the backbenchers whiplash. First, they tried to slash winter fuel payments because nothing says progressive like freezing pensioners. They then backtracked on welfare reform after rebellion threatened to turn Starmer's spine to jelly again. Meanwhile, Farage is out there doing his best impression of a political rock star. Literally. Rod Stewart, yes, the 80-year-old crooner who once sang about Maggie May and now apparently moonlights as a political pundit, has declared, "We are fed up with the Tories. We have got to give Farage a chance." Rod, mate, I love your optimism. However, some would say giving Farage a chance is like giving the fox the keys to the henhouse because the chickens are arguing over who forgot to lock the door. Still, the public seems to agree. A YouGov poll suggests that if an election were held today, Reform UK would win 271 seats. However, all these polls swing back and forth daily. Anyway, that is more than Labour, the Lib Devs and the Tories combined. The Conservatives, once the party of Churchill and Thatcher, now projected to come the fourth party, behind the Lib Devs. That is like losing a pub quiz to a bloke who thought Napoleon was a brand of ice cream. Furthermore, what is a response from the establishment? Panic, mostly. Starmer called Farage a wolf in Wall Street clothing, which is rich coming from a man who changes policies more often than he changes socks. Meanwhile, the Tories are trying to paint reform as economically reckless, because apparently we are supposed to believe the party that gave Liz Truss is now the voice of fiscal responsibility. One anonymous Tory Brexiteer, aren't they all, said Farage is the only one willing to break China to change things. Which is ironic considering the Tories have spent the last decade smashing the country like a toddler in a crockery shop. Even former ministers are admitting the obvious. The public is very, very annoyed. No kidding! After years of broken promises, boxed Brexit deals and a revolving door of prime ministers, the British electorate is about as trusting as a cat at a bath time. Moreover, what about Kemi Badenoch? She is about to be the Tories' answer to Farage. However, according to the polls, she is about as clear as a foggy pint of Guinness. One Conservative strategist said she needs to be as punchy and clear as Farage. Good luck with that. At this rate, she would be lucky to be as punchy as a custard tart. Let us not pretend Reform's policies are a model of clarity either. They are calling for massive state spending while claiming to be a small government libertarians. It is like watching someone try to sell you a diet plan while eating a bacon sandwich, upside down in a sauna. However, here is another kicker. None of this is really about policy. It is about presence, charisma, the illusion of authenticity. Farage, for all his faults, and there are many, knows how to work a crowd. Starmer, on the other hand, looks like he is perpetually waiting for someone to hand him a clipboard and tell him where the fire exit is. So here we are, a nation adrift. The Tories are imploding, Labour is dithering, and Farage is riding a wave of disillusionment all the way to Westminster. Whether that wave crashes or carries him to power remains to be seen. Nevertheless, one thing is for sure. The British public are done with beige, and honestly, who can blame them? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.